The year was 2847, and humanity had done what their ancestors only dreamed about. They had spread across 47 star systems. They had built great cities on distant worlds. They had met alien species and made friends with many of them. Humans believed they were ready for anything the universe could throw at them. They were wrong. It started on a Tuesday morning, though time zones meant little when you lived among the stars. A research station in the Kepler expanse detected something strange. At first, the scientists thought their instruments were broken. They ran tests. They checked their calculations. But the readings stayed the same. Something was coming. Something big. Something that should not exist. Admiral Nora Beckett received the first reports while eating breakfast on the Carrier constellation. She was 62 years old, with gray hair she refused to dye, and eyes that had seen too many battles. She had fought in 3 wars and won them all. But when she saw the images from the Kepler expanse, her coffee cup stopped halfway to her lips. The anomaly looked like a wound in space itself. It swirled with colors that hurt to look at. Lightning crackled through clouds of energy that stretched for millions of miles. And it was moving. Slowly at first, but always moving. Always growing. 3 colony worlds vanished in the first week. The people living there had no warning. One moment they were going about their lives. The next moment, they were gone. Not dead in any way that made sense. Just gone. Erased from existence like someone had deleted them from reality. By the second week, the phenomenon had consumed an entire solar system. Commander Leo Grant stood beside Admiral Beckett on the bridge. He was her second in command, a tall man with a weathered face and hands that never stopped fidgeting when he was nervous. Right now, his hands were shaking. The Valorian Science Council sent their report, he said. His voice was quiet, as if speaking too loudly might make things worse. They confirmed what we suspected. This thing is not natural. Someone or something created it. Nora felt cold spread through her chest. Created it? For what purpose? They do not know, but they have given it a name. Leo paused and swallowed hard. They are calling it the Storm. And where is this storm heading? Leo did not want to answer. But he had no choice. Earth, Admiral. It is heading directly for Earth. The United Terran Council called an emergency meeting. Representatives came from every human world. Ambassadors from allied alien species attended as well. They gathered in a great chamber on Luna, the moon that humans had first colonized 800 years before. The projections were grim. At its current speed, the storm would reach Earth in 97 days. Every weapon humanity fired at it was absorbed like water into sand. Every probe sent to study it vanished the moment it crossed the boundary. Humanity had no idea what they were fighting. They only knew they were losing. Speaker after speaker offered ideas: build bigger weapons, evacuate Earth, send diplomats to communicate with whatever intelligence might be controlling the storm. Each idea was discussed. Each idea was rejected. Nothing seemed good enough. Nothing seemed possible. Humanity, for the first time in centuries, faced extinction. It was near the end of the session when a woman stood up in the back of the chamber. She was not a politician or a military officer. She was a scientist named Dr. Kara Holden, and she ran something called the Prometheus Research Institute. "I have a proposal," she said. Her voice was calm and steady, which was strange given what she was about to suggest. The chamber fell silent. Everyone turned to look at her. "Most of you do not know about Project Titan," Kara continued. "It was classified at the highest level, but given the circumstances, I have received permission to reveal it." She pressed a button, and images appeared on the main screen. They showed men and women undergoing strange procedures. machines that rewrote their genetic code, training exercises where they moved faster than the eye could follow. Project Titan was designed to create enhanced humans, Kara explained. Subjects who are stronger, faster, and smarter than any normal person. They can survive conditions that would kill ordinary humans in seconds. They can process information faster than our best computers. They are, in every measurable way, the strongest humans ever created. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Some people looked horrified. Others looked hopeful. There are 12 of them, Kara said. 12 Titans. They have never been deployed. We were waiting for a threat worthy of their abilities. She paused and looked around the room. I believe we have found that threat. Counselor George Whitman leaned forward in his seat. He was an old man with a reputation for caution. You want to send these Titans into the storm? Into something that has destroyed everything we have thrown at it? Not to destroy it, Kara replied. To understand it. The Titans can survive where our probes cannot. They can transmit data back to us, and if there is a source, a mechanism, a weakness anywhere inside that storm, they might be able to find it. And if they cannot? Kara met his eyes. Then humanity is no worse off than we already are. But at least we will have tried. The debate lasted 6 hours. People argued. People shouted. Some said the Titans were too valuable to risk. Others said no risk was too great when extinction was the alternative. In the end, desperation won out over caution. The Titans would go. Admiral Beckett was given command of the operation. She spent the next 3 days reading files about people she had never known existed. 12 men and women who had volunteered to become something more than human. Each of them had a story. Each of them had reasons for accepting the enhancement. As she read, Nora felt something she had not felt in years. Hope. Not because she believed the Titans would succeed. The odds were against them, and everyone knew it. But because they were willing to try. Because they would walk into certain death just for the chance to save everyone else. That was what humanity was. That was what made them special. On the morning the Titans gathered for their mission briefing, Nora stood at the window of her quarters and watched the stars. Somewhere out there, the storm was still growing, still coming, still hungry. But now, finally, humanity was going to fight back. And win or lose, they would not go quietly. Armstrong Station was the largest military base humanity had ever built. It orbited Mars like a metal moon, home to 50,000 soldiers and enough weapons to destroy a planet. But on this day, none of that mattered. On this day, everyone on the station had gathered to watch 12 people board a small ship. The Titans arrived one by one. They came from different places and different lives, but they walked the same way. Confident, calm, like they knew exactly what they were about to do and had made peace with it. Their leader was Commander Sam Holloway. He was 41 years old with brown hair going gray at the temples and eyes that seemed to look right through you. Before his enhancement, he had been a rescue pilot. A shuttle crash had left him paralyzed from the waist down. The doctor said he would never walk again. The Titan procedure changed that. It gave him back his legs and much more. He could now run faster than any vehicle. He could lift weights that would crush a normal man. But when people asked him what the best part of being a Titan was, he always gave the same answer. I can help people again, he would say. That is all I ever wanted. Lieutenant Diana Cole walked beside him. She was the team's tactical specialist, a former Marine with short black hair and a scar on her chin from a fight she never talked about. Before her enhancement, she had led a squad in the outer colonies. A pirate ambush had killed all of them except her. She had requested the Titan procedure the next day. Not for revenge. She was not that kind of person. She simply never wanted to feel helpless again. Never wanted to watch people die while she could do nothing to save them. Dr. Nathan Pierce was the youngest Titan at 30 years old. He had been a genius even before the enhancement, with a memory that forgot nothing, and a mind that solved problems other scientists could not even understand. The procedure had made him smarter still. Some people found him intimidating. Others found him strange, but Sam trusted him completely. "Why did you volunteer?" Sam had asked him once. Nathan had smiled. "Because the Titans are the future, and I want to see what we become." The other 9 Titans were equally remarkable. Lieutenant Henry Vaughn could pilot any ship ever built, his reflexes faster than any computer. Sergeant Maria Santos had once held up a collapsing building for 3 hours, while rescue teams saved 200 people trapped inside. Corporal Alex Trent could hear a heartbeat from a kilometer away and see in complete darkness. There was Lieutenant Kevin Shaw, who could process tactical data faster than a military supercomputer. Specialist Amy Chen, whose enhanced immune system made her resistant to every known disease. Sergeant Paul Rivera, who had memorized every weapon humanity had ever created and could use them all with perfect accuracy. Captain Laura Bennett led the medical team, her enhanced knowledge of biology allowing her to heal wounds that would kill anyone else. Corporal Derek Owens was their engineer, able to repair any machine by instinct alone. And Private First Class Monica Reyes, the youngest at 26, whose enhanced agility let her move through spaces no normal human could reach. 12 people. 12 miracles of science and courage, 12 reasons for humanity to hope. Admiral Beckett addressed them personally in the hangar bay. She stood before them in her dress uniform, her medals gleaming under the harsh lights, but her voice was soft when she spoke. "I will not pretend this is anything other than what it is," she said. "A suicide mission. We do not know what is inside that storm. We do not know if your enhancements will be enough. Every probe we have sent has been destroyed. Every ship has been lost. You may face the same fate." She paused and looked at each of them in turn. "But I also know this. If anyone can do this, it is you. Not because of what you can do, because of who you are. You volunteered for this. You knew the risks, and you came anyway. That is what makes you heroes." Sam Holloway stepped forward. He spoke for all of them, as he always did. "Admiral, we did not become Titans to live forever. We became Titans to protect humanity. Whatever is waiting for us in that storm, we will face it. And if we cannot come back, we will make sure the data does. Humanity will learn what we learn. Our sacrifice will mean something." Nora felt tears threatening to form in her eyes. She blinked them away. Admirals did not cry in front of their soldiers. "Good luck," she said. "All of you." The ship they would take was called the Pioneer. It was small, built for a crew of 12, with reinforced hull plating and experimental shields that Dr. Holden's team had designed just for this mission. It was the most advanced spacecraft humanity had ever built, and it still might not be enough. As the Titans boarded, thousands of people watched. The broadcast was sent to every human world. Billions of eyes followed 12 figures as they walked up the ramp and disappeared inside. Diana Cole paused at the airlock. She turned and looked back at the crowd one last time. Her enhanced eyes could pick out individual faces even from this distance. She saw soldiers standing at attention, scientists wiping tears from their cheeks, children holding signs with messages of hope. One little girl caught her attention. She was maybe 7 years old, with curly brown hair and a gap-toothed smile. She was holding her mother's hand with one fist and waving with the other. Diana waved back. Then she stepped inside and the airlock sealed behind her. The Pioneer's engines hummed to life. The docking clamps released. Slowly, gracefully, the small ship pulled away from Armstrong Station and turned toward the distant storm. Inside, the 12 Titans strapped themselves into their seats. Sam sat in the commander's chair, watching the stars stream past the viewport. Nathan ran calculations on his tablet. Diana checked her weapons for the 100th time. Henry's hands rested lightly on the controls, ready for anything. They did not speak. There was nothing left to say. Somewhere ahead of them, the storm waited. Ancient, hungry, patient, and heading toward it, 12 ordinary people who had chosen to become extraordinary. The strongest humans ever created. Humanity's last hope. The journey to the storm's edge took 11 days. 11 days of preparation. 11 days of waiting. 11 days of watching something impossible grow larger in the viewport with each passing hour. The Titans used the time well. They ran simulations based on every piece of data humanity had gathered. They practiced scenarios they could barely imagine. They studied the patterns in the storm's energy signatures, looking for clues that might help them survive. Nathan Pierce spent most of his waking hours at his workstation. His enhanced mind never seemed to tire, processing information at speeds that would have burned out a normal brain. The others learned to leave him alone when he got like this. He would emerge eventually with answers or more questions. On the 7th day, he called a meeting in the small common area. "I found something," he said, pulling up images on the main screen. "Look at these patterns. The energy signatures are not random. There is structure here, mathematics, complex equations repeating in cycles." Sam leaned forward in his chair. "What does that mean?" "It means whoever or whatever created this storm was intelligent. Extremely intelligent. Far beyond anything we have encountered before." Nathan paused, his young face serious. "This is not a natural phenomenon. It is a machine, a tool, built for a specific purpose." Diana crossed her arms. "What purpose?" "I do not know yet. But here is the interesting part." Nathan pointed to a section of the display. "There is a central point, a core. All the energy flows toward it and away from it. If we can reach that core, we might find answers." "Or we might find death," Henry said from the pilot's seat. He was not being negative, just honest. "Probably both," Nathan admitted, "but at least we will know." The days passed. The storm grew closer, and on the 11th day, they finally arrived at the boundary. Every member of the crew fell silent as they stared at what lay before them. It was beautiful. That was the first thought that crossed Sam's mind, and he felt strange for thinking it. Colors that human eyes had no names for swirled through the darkness. Purple that was not quite purple. Green that seemed to glow from within. White that hurt to look at directly. Lightning arced between clouds of energy, each bolt powerful enough to destroy a city. The clouds themselves pulsed with a rhythm that reminded Sam of a heartbeat. Slow, steady, patient. And at the center, visible only through their most powerful sensors, was something vast, something ancient, something waiting. "Beginning approach," Henry announced. His voice was calm, but Sam could see the tension in his shoulders. "Shields at maximum power. All systems ready." Sam looked at his team. Diana sat straight in her seat, her face blank, but her eyes alert. Nathan was still studying his tablet, running last-minute calculations. Maria had her hands folded in her lap, her massive strength hidden behind a serene expression. "Whatever happens in there," Sam said, "I want you all to know something. It has been an honor serving with you, each of you. There is no one I would rather have at my side." Diana smiled slightly. Save the speeches for when we get back, Commander. Who said anything about speeches? I was just stating facts. The Pioneer crossed the boundary. Immediately, everything changed. The ship shook like a toy in a giant's hand. Alarms screamed. Lights flickered and died, then came back, then died again. Sam gripped his armrests hard enough to leave dents in the metal. Shields holding, Nathan shouted over the chaos. Barely. The energy out there is not just physical. It is affecting our electronics, our systems, even our thoughts. Sam felt it too. A pressure against his mind, like someone was pressing their fingers against his brain. Something vast and ancient and curious. It was studying them, learning them, deciding whether they were worth keeping alive. Keep moving, he ordered. We need to reach the center. Henry fought with the controls. His enhanced reflexes were the only thing keeping them alive as he dodged energy waves that would have vaporized a normal ship. Sweat dripped down his face despite the cold. They pressed deeper. The journey that should have taken hours stretched into days. Time itself seemed to bend around them. Nathan reported that his instruments showed impossible readings. They had been inside the storm for 3 days, but also 3 minutes, but also 3 years. That is not possible, Laura said, checking the medical monitors. Our bodies should be showing signs of time passage. Nothing in here follows the rules we know, Nathan replied. We are in a place where the laws of physics are suggestions, not requirements. On what might have been the 4th day, they finally saw it. The core was a massive crystalline structure that pulsed with the same energy that surrounded them. It was miles across, geometric and precise, clearly artificial. It hung in the center of the storm, like a heart in a chest. That is the source, Nathan breathed. That is what is generating all of this. Then that is where we are going, Sam said. The Pioneer landed on the structure's surface. The crystalline ground was smooth beneath them, warm to the touch, despite the chaos swirling overhead. Sam stood at the airlock, checking his equipment one final time. Stay together, he ordered. Stay in communication range. Report anything unusual. Commander, Alex said quietly. His enhanced senses were working overtime, picking up signals the others could not detect. There is something alive in here. I can hear it. Feel it. It knows we are here. Good, Diana said, checking her weapons. Then we will not have to go looking for it. The airlock opened. 12 Titans stepped out onto the crystal surface, their boots clicking against the strange material. The air hummed with power. Reality itself seemed to vibrate around them. They had barely taken 20 steps when the entity appeared. It had no body they could see, no shape they could understand. It existed as light and sound and thought all at once. When it spoke, they heard it not with their ears, but with their minds. You have come far, it said. Farther than any of your kind has come before. Sam stepped forward, placing himself between the presence and his team. His heart was pounding, but his voice was steady. We came because you are destroying our worlds, our people. We came to understand why. The entity seemed to consider this. Light pulsed around them, and Sam felt the pressure against his mind increase. Understanding, it said finally. Yes, perhaps you deserve that much. Then tell us, what are you? What do you want? The light grew brighter, the humming grew louder, and the entity spoke words that would change everything. I am the end of all things that grow too fast. I am the correction. I am the balance. And I was created to judge whether your species deserves to continue existing. The entity's words hung in the air like thunder after lightning. Sam felt them echo through his enhanced mind, each syllable carrying weight that pressed against his thought. Behind him, the other Titans stood frozen, their weapons useless against something that had no body to shoot. Judge us? Diana said. Her voice was sharp, angry. You have already killed billions, entire worlds erased without warning. What kind of judgment is that? The presence did not react with anger. If anything, its response felt almost sad. Your species spreads across the stars like fire through dry grass. You consume resources. You expand without limit. You do not ask whether you should do something, only whether you can. Images flooded their minds, visions of civilizations rising and falling across millions of years. Species that had grown too powerful, too fast, and had destroyed everything around them. I have seen this pattern before, many times. The result is always the same. Nathan stepped forward, his scientist's mind working even in the face of impossible truth. You said you were created. That means you are not a natural phenomenon. Someone built you. Correct. The architects. A species so old that your son had not yet been born when they lived. They watched younger races destroy themselves and others. They saw the pattern. And they created me to break it. By killing everyone? Maria asked. Her voice was quiet, but there was steel beneath it. By removing threats before they become too large to contain. A fire stopped early causes little damage. A fire left to spread consumes forests. The entity pulsed with light. I take no pleasure in this. I am simply fulfilling my purpose. Sam listened carefully. He had spent his life reading people, understanding what they needed to hear. Even though this entity was not human, even though it was older than he could imagine, he sensed something beneath its words. Something like doubt. You said you have seen this pattern before, he said slowly. Many times. But have you ever been wrong? Silence. The humming around them changed slightly, becoming deeper, more thoughtful. Define wrong. Have you ever destroyed a species that might have changed, that might have grown beyond the pattern you saw in them? More silence. The light pulsed slower now, like a heart at rest. That is not possible to know, the entity finally said. Once a species is removed, their potential futures are removed with them. There is no way to see what they might have become. Diana caught Sam's eye. She understood what he was doing. He was not fighting the entity with weapons or force. He was fighting it with questions, with ideas, with the one thing that might work against a mind this old and this certain of its purpose. Doubt. Then how do you know you are right? Sam pressed. How do you know the architects did not make a mistake when they created you? How do you know your judgment is perfect? I follow the patterns. The patterns have never failed. Until now. Sam spread his arms, gesturing at himself and his team. Look at us. We are not normal humans. Our species created us to be stronger, faster, smarter. We took our limitations and found ways to transcend them. That is unusual, is it not? The entity focused on them more intensely. Sam felt the pressure increase against his mind, but he stood firm. Yes, it admitted. This is unusual. Most species do not modify themselves so aggressively. Most are content with what they are. Humans are never content with what we are, Nathan said. We always want to be better, to grow, to learn. That is what makes us different. Different does not mean worthy of survival. Then test us. The words came from Diana, surprising everyone, including herself. She stepped forward to stand beside Sam. You said you judge species. Fine. Judge us, not from a distance, not by erasing our worlds without warning. Actually look at us, learn who we are, and then decide if we deserve to die. The entity was silent for a long moment. The light around them flickered and swirled, patterns forming and dissolving in the crystal beneath their feet. Your kind interests me, it finally said. You create individuals like yourselves, stronger and more resilient. You try to transcend your limitations. This is worthy of consideration. Sam felt hope surge through his chest. Then give us a chance. Let us prove that humanity can be more than the pattern you have seen before. Words are insufficient. Actions are required. What kind of actions? The entity's presence seemed to focus, becoming more intense and more specific. It was no longer studying all of them. It was studying each of them individually. You are the strongest of your kind. You claim to represent what humanity can become. If you would save your species, you must demonstrate the truth of your nature. How do we do that? Maria asked. Enter my core. Face what lies within. Show me what humans truly are when they are pushed beyond all limits. The Titans exchanged glances. They had come this far. They had gambled everything on this mission. There was only one answer they could give. We will do it, Sam said. Know this before you decide. None who have entered my core have ever returned. Other species have sent their champions, their heroes, their strongest. All have failed. All have been consumed. Diana smiled grimly. Then we will be the first to come back. That confidence is either foolish or admirable. I have not yet decided which. The crystal beneath their feet began to glow brighter. A path appeared, leading toward a point of light so intense that even their enhanced eyes could barely look at it. Walk into the light, the entity said. Face the trial within, and show me what humanity truly is. Sam looked at his team one last time. 11 faces looked back at him, each one showing fear and determination in equal measure. They knew they might not survive this. They knew the odds were against them. But they also knew what was at stake. Humanity. Billions of lives. Every person they had ever known or loved. Together, Sam said simply. Together, they replied. One by one, they walked toward the light. Sam went first, then Diana, then Nathan. The others followed, each step taking them closer to something they could not see and might not survive. The entity watched them go. It had observed countless species send their best into this trial. Warriors and scientists, kings and soldiers, creatures of pure logic and beings of raw emotion. All had failed. All had proven that their species was just like the others. But as the 12 humans disappeared into the light, the entity felt something it had not felt in a very long time. Uncertainty. These creatures were different. They had come not with weapons or threats, but with questions. They had not demanded survival. They had asked for a chance to earn it. Perhaps they would fail, like all the others. Or perhaps, for the first time in a million years, the entity was wrong. It would wait and see. 97 days after the storm first appeared, it stopped. Admiral Nora Beckett was on the bridge of the Constellation when it happened. She had not slept in 3 days, had barely eaten, had spent every waking hour staring at tactical displays and praying for a miracle she did not truly believe would come. The swirling vortex of impossible energy simply froze. It hung motionless in space for 1 heartbeat, 2 heartbeats, 3. And then it began to shrink. Slowly at first, then faster and faster, collapsing in on itself like a dying star. Within an hour, it was gone. The storm that had threatened to destroy humanity had vanished without a trace. Nora stood frozen at her station, unable to believe what she was seeing. Around her, officers shouted and cheered and wept with relief. But she could not celebrate. Not yet. "The Pioneer," she said, her voice cutting through the noise. "What happened to the Pioneer? What happened to the Titans?" The search teams found nothing. They scoured the area where the storm had been for weeks. They scanned every frequency, checked every possible location. But there was no ship, no bodies, no signal, no sign that 12 people had ever entered that swirling chaos. The strongest humans ever created had stepped into humanity's storm and vanished without a trace. Dr. Kara Holden spent the next 3 years analyzing the data the Titans had transmitted before they disappeared. She worked day and night, barely sleeping, driven by a need to understand what had happened to the people she had helped create. When she finally presented her findings to the council, her voice was steady, but her hands shook. "They did not die," she said. "At least not in any way we understand." Counselor George Whitman leaned forward. "Explain." "Look at these readings." Kara pointed to complex graphs on the screen. Their vital signs did not simply stop. They transformed, changed into something our instruments could not properly measure. It is as if they became part of the storm's core. What does that mean in simple terms? Kara took a deep breath. I believe they are still in there somewhere, somehow, and I believe they are the reason the storm stopped. They did not destroy it. They did not defeat it with force. They convinced it. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. 12 humans had faced an ancient intelligence designed to judge and destroy entire species, and they had somehow persuaded it to spare humanity, not through weapons, not through technology, through something else entirely, through being human. Years passed. The colony worlds that had been consumed by the storm were gone forever, mourned by billions who had lost friends and family. But Earth survived. Humanity survived. And they never forgot the 12 who had made it possible. Monuments rose on every world, great statues of Sam Holloway standing tall and brave, Diana Cole with her weapons ready, Nathan Pierce holding a tablet, forever solving the universe's mysteries. The others were remembered too, each face carved in stone or cast in metal, watching over the people they had saved. Schools taught their story. Children grew up hearing about the Titans who walked into the light so everyone else could live. Parents told their kids that courage was not about being unafraid. It was about being afraid and going forward anyway. And sometimes, on quiet nights when the stars were bright, astronomers would point their instruments at distant corners of the universe. They would detect strange signals, patterns in cosmic radiation that seemed too complex to be random, mathematical sequences that repeated over and over. Most scientists dismissed these signals as natural phenomena, but Dr. Kara Holden did not dismiss them. She spent her final year studying them, searching for meaning in the static of deep space. She never published her findings. But one night, when she was very old and knew she did not have much time left, she told her daughter something. They were sitting on the porch of Kara's house, looking up at the stars, the same stars that humanity had spread across, the same stars that the Titans had vanished into. "They are still out there," Kara said. Her voice was weak but certain. "Sam and Diana and Nathan and all the others. They are not dead. They are not even really gone. They have become something new, something that moves between the stars." "How do you know?" her daughter asked. "Because the signals spell out a message. The same message repeated over and over in every language humanity has ever spoken." Her daughter leaned closer. "What does it say?" Kara smiled and looked up at the sky. Somewhere out there, impossibly far away, 12 people were still watching, still protecting, still human, even though they had become something more. It says, "We are still here. We will always be here, and humanity is worth saving." 1,000 years passed. Humanity grew and changed and spread to new stars. They made mistakes and learned from them. They fought wars and made peace. They forgot many things, but they never forgot the Titans. And then, One day, the storm returned. It appeared at the edge of explored space, swirling and vast and beautiful. Every alarm in the Terran Alliance began to sound. Ships were scrambled, weapons were charged. People looked to the sky with the same fear their ancestors had felt a millennium before. But this time the storm did not advance. It simply waited. And from its heart, a single transmission emerged. A voice that historical records identified as Commander Sam Holloway. A voice that had not been heard for 1,000 years. "Do not be afraid," he said. "We are coming home." 12 figures emerged from the light. They looked exactly as they had the day they disappeared, young and strong and impossibly human despite everything they had become. They walked across space as easily as walking across a room, leaving trails of light behind them. The strongest of humanity had stepped into the storm and vanished without a trace, but they had never stopped protecting the species they loved. They never would. Sam Holloway was the last to arrive. He floated above Earth, looking down at the world he had saved so long ago. It was different now. More cities, more lights, more people. But it was still home. Diana appeared beside him. 1,000 years, she said. Do you think they still remember us? Sam smiled. Below them, millions of faces were turned toward the sky. Millions of voices were calling their names. I think they do. The Titans descended through the atmosphere, their bodies glowing with the energy they had absorbed over centuries. They landed in a great plaza filled with people who had gathered to witness the impossible. For a long moment, no one moved. No one spoke. The 12 strongest humans ever created stood among their descendants, separated by time, but united by something deeper. Then a little girl broke free from the crowd. She ran forward and threw her arms around Sam's legs, hugging him with all her strength. "Thank you," she said. "Thank you for saving us." Sam knelt down and hugged her back. His eyes were wet with tears, but he was smiling. "That is what we do," he said. "That is what humanity does. We protect each other." The crowd erupted in cheers. People surged forward, wanting to touch the legends, wanting to believe that miracles were real, and standing among them, 12 ordinary people who had chosen to become extraordinary finally understood why they had been created. Not to fight, not to conquer, but to remind humanity of what they could become when they were brave enough to try. The storm still waited at the edge of space, but it was no longer a threat. It was a guardian now, watching over the species that had earned the right to exist. And at its heart, where light and thought became one, the ancient entity pondered something it had never considered before. Perhaps the architects had been wrong. Perhaps the pattern was not inevitable. Perhaps some species, when given the chance, could choose to be better. Perhaps humanity was just the beginning,